Okay, so now what we can do is we can move on to the next section, which is here. Okay, so here again we have a situation where we have um, the section, the div being divided into two. Okay, so we can see here that we kind of have a column on this side and we also have a column on this side. Okay, so again I'm going to do the same thing that I would have done, the same method I would have done here and above here. Okay, and in this case it's a little different because what's happening is that instead of having content on the left and on the right, the content is only on the right side. Okay, so let me get into that now. So I'm going to bring back up Notepad. I'm going to come back to my HTML here, travel site.html, and this time we're going to work on section 5. We're making a lot of progress here. We're about halfway through. Good, so section 5. And what I'm going to do is that, as I said, I'm going to split this into two divs, one on the left and one on the right, just to make this simple. So I'm going to put div id is equals to, and in this case I'm not going to use a class because there's a difference now compared to what would have happened before. So before I would have had content on both sides and the content would have accepted similar styling, and that's why I could have done a class to represent both sections. Okay, but in this case that's not going to happen. In this case we just have content on one side and none on the other side, so I'm not going to use a class. I'm just going to use an ID. It's going to put div ID is equals to section 5 left. Good, so this will represent the left side. So then I'm going to close that. Good. And then I'm going to do div ID is equals to section 5 right. Okay. Good. Okay, I'm just going to close this off here just to make sure I don't leave that out. Good. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to look here and I'm going to see what I have to add. So I have to add a heading, a line again, bold text, normal text, and finally the button. Okay. So that's 5 elements. So let's get to it. So the first element is h1 class, and this would be heading block. Yeah, how to say run it? Oh. Alright, so the first thing here is going to be h1 class equals to heading block. Good. And then we can see here that it says a look inside the world. So I'm just going to copy that and take note that there's a line break here. Okay, so I'm going to paste this in here. And I'm just going to put this on one line because it's not really that big of a phrase. And I'm going to put a page break here. Okay, so I'm going to put /br here. Good. And then behind the world, I'm just going to close off the h1. So /h1, that closes that tag. And then the next item that we need is that we need a line class. So div class is equals to line. Good. /div. Good. And then we have some bold text and then some normal text. Okay, so I'm going to put p class is equals to text bold and then I'm just going to copy the content from here and paste it again. Okay, so copy and then paste, And then again, I'm going to put in my page breaks. So we have a break here. I'm going to bring this around. Good. And I'm going to bring this around also. Good. So now I'm going to put a page break here as well. So slash BR here as well. Good. And then I'm just going to end this paragraph here. Slash P. Good. I'm going to put some spacing between these things just to make sure I can differentiate. Good. So we have the heading, we have the line class, our bold text, and now we need our normal text. Okay. So P class is equals to text normal and now what we can do is we can add the content again. So we're going to copy this normal text here. We're going to add it and we're going to do the same process with the page breaks. So we're going to do that. And I'm just using the shortcuts here, right? I'm not right clicking and clicking copy and right clicking and doing paste. So I'm just using the keyboard shortcuts. So I'm just going to bring this around now to here. Good. And I'm just going to put in my page breaks. So I have a page break here, slash BR. Good. I have one here as well, slash BR. Good. I have one here as well, slash BR. Good. Here. And that should do it. Good. Okay, and then I just have to close off this paragraph. So slash P again. Good. And then finally we have a button at the bottom. Okay, so we'll just use our dark button class. So button class is equals to dark button. And then again, we have view. Well, not again. I was thinking that this would be view more again. But this is view gallery this time. So then we have view gallery. And then we just put slash button to end off the tag. Okay. Good. Okay. So that should do it. So let's save this. Somehow I feel like I have not closed off a div here. Let me see. Good, that's there, and that's there. Good, okay. So now I'm going to save this. And let's see what it looks like now without the styling. Refresh. Good, okay. Everything looks good. So we have our heading, we have our line, we have our bold text or normal text on our button. Good, okay. So let's start styling. So I'm going to come back to travelstyle.css, which is my CSS file, and I'm going to start dealing now with section 5. So I'll come here, section #section5, and as you might guess, I'm going to display grid again. Okay, and this will allow me to establish 2 columns again. So display grid, and then I'm going to put grid dash template dash columns once more, just like we did above. 1FR 1FR, and we don't just have to worry about the columns, the 2 columns. We also have to worry also about the background. Okay, so we have this large picture of a binocular here as the background, so we're going to put that into. So that is going to be background dash image, and then you put in the URL, and in this case it is going to be c/users/Hassan/desktop/HTML/images slash scope 1 dot png, and good, that should do it. Good, so that's the location. And we also have background dash attachment is going to be fixed. Okay, and what this part does is that this part allows for this scrolling effect. Okay, we can see that the image is scrolling along with my scrolling, so that's what it does. So it's fixing it to the scrolling that I'm doing. Okay, and that's how we get that effect with that line. So background attachment fixed. Good. Okay, so let's see what it looks like now. So save, come back to the site, refresh. Good. Okay, we're looking good. We're looking good. Okay, so now we just have to apply styling to the right side div. Okay, so I'm going to come back here, and this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to put section right, so section 5 right, and let's do the styling that we see there. So again, I'm going to display this as a grid so that I can organize how the content inside is structured. So display grid. Good. I'm going to ensure that we have we have one column so that we don't have any funny business with stuff jumping around, right? So I'm going to put grid dash template dash columns, and then I'm going to put 1FR. I'm going to put the background color as a translucent whitish color. So to do that, I'm going to put RGBA, and I'm going to put white, so 255, 255, 255, and then what I'm going to do, so RGB 255, 255, 255, that creates the color white. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do is that to get this effect where we can kind of see through it slightly, I'm going to make it slightly translucent, and to do that you put 0.7. okay, well, you can adjust that. I can make it more 10 more towards transparency or 10 more towards being opaque. Transparency obviously meaning that you can see through it, and opaque meaning that you can't see through it, depending on what fraction of 1 I use. So 1 is fully opaque and 0 is fully transparent. Okay, so you can see here that we can still see the color pretty well defined. We can just barely see through it to the image in the back. Okay, so 0.7 seems to be the right color there. Well, it seems to be the right transparency there. Okay, so I'm going to put my semicolon and continue. So then I'm going to also align the content to center. And what I'll do is that, again, that's going to make sure that the content in terms of its vertical orientation is kind of brought together towards the center. And then what we'll do is that we'll use a grid gap to establish the spacing that we want between the different elements. So I'm going to put a grid gap of 20 pixels. And finally, I'm going to put some padding to the left at 100 pixels. Okay. And the reason for that padding was, if you look here, you can see that if you compare the two, you can see that the content here is a lot closer to the left side. So what I'm doing is that I'm just pushing the content away from the edge of the div here. Okay, so if I save this now and I refresh, good, we can see that it has the right styling now. And if I didn't have that padding, so let me take out the padding. So I'm just going to cut that and save it and refresh it. We can see that the content is going to tend to want to come against the edge here. And I could rectify that by aligning the content to the center, or justifying the, not aligning, justifying the content to the center, or justifying the items to the center specifically, because that would be a command that you use. But I can't do that in this case because what's happening here is that the content is not justified. Okay, you can see here that it's not really central. All that's happening is that it's kind of pushed away from this left edge by a slight bit. Okay, so that's when I'm putting the padding here. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to put that back in. So padding to the left of 100 pixels. Good. Okay, so if I save it, it should go back to how it was. Good. Okay, so finally the last thing is just the button. Okay, so the button has been distorted because of the styling I've done to the other things. And so what I'm going to do is that to rectify that, I'm just going to come here and put section 5 right button. So I'm getting to that button. And I'm saying that I want that button to have, to justify itself to the start. And that rectifies the issue, okay? I'm going to save this, refresh. Alright, so the button hasn't shifted. That means I probably put in something wrong. So let me come back here. Here, yeah. Put in the wrong colon, so use that colon. Save it, refresh. Good, okay, good. And the reason why I use this is that I also want the button to stay in line with this other content, okay? So by justifying the content to the start, it's going to pull, well, by justifying the button, itself, by the start to the start, it's going to pull it up against this padding here, okay? Just like the other content. Because we want to maintain this look, okay? So good, so that's that section done now too, and we're making a lot of progress. We're getting close to the end. So we just have to do, let's see, one section here, two, and finally the footer. Okay, so we're almost done.